Before we start this interview, I just want to introduce myself first. Hi, I am Emmanuel P. Samson, the president of the Romanticism Club and a fourth-year art major student here in Far Eastern University that believes in the proverb says, there's no mess in art because art is free. Before we start, I want you to state your name, your level and course, plus your favorite Romanticism artist. You may begin.
I'm a freshman architecture student, and I believe in the saying of George R.R. Martin that life is not a song swirling. Someday, you may learn that to your sorrow.
All the knowledge I possess, everyone else can acquire, but my heart is all my own. By Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Hi, I am Carla Marie Borromeo, a second-year architecture student.
I am Steven Jerome S. Salvador, a second-year fine arts major student, and I believe that I am internally devastatingly romantic, and I thought people would see it because romantic doesn't mean sugary, it's dark and tormented. The furor of passion, the despair of idealism that you can attain just like Catherine Breillat put it.
Hello, I am Hannah Ercabella M. Familiar, a freshman fine arts major student that believes in the proverb that love is a two-way street constantly under construction by Carol Burney.
The essence of romantic love is that wonderful beginning after which sadness and impossibility may become the rule. Hi, I am Nicole Angela H. a third-year interior design major who sees Anita Bruckner as my role model in my whole life journey.
Good day, I am Kathleen May Gabayan, an architecture freshman student that believes that romanticism is beauty without bounds, the beautiful infinite, as from Jean-Paul Code.
I appreciate your interest and effort for being here with me today. But for today's discussion, I only have 7 questions to determine if you are truly deserving to be a member of our club. So, let's start. In a world where love matters the most, there's an art that symbolizes it, which is Romanticism. Romanticism came from the word romance itself. So, the first question is, what comes first into your mind when you hear the word Romanticism?
Well, it briefly focuses on the emotion and mood of art. Romance in art means the intense emotion within the art, which the artist conveys through its subject and with the use of elements of arts. Elements of arts such as colors, lines, and textures enable to create feelings to the art.
Melancholy, dramatic, and gothic are the common themes in Romanticism arts. Examples are Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog by Caspar David Friedrich, The Course of Empire Destruction, 1836 by Cole Thomas, Liberty Leading the People by Eugène Delacroix, and Saturn Devouring His Son by Francisco de Goya.
Romanticism pays attention to nature. Landscapes painting are well liked in Romanticism, and I can say that a lot of romantic artists use nature to portray their emotion.
Since I love John Constable, the first thing that comes to my mind is his artwork, which is the Derwegian, and also the Haywain that is also made by John Constable, and the Monk by the Sea by Caspar David Friedrich.
Romanticism does not follow the principle of balance and order. It can also be contrasted with Classicism, since Classicism is highly focused on beauty that is portrayed through balance, harmony, and the principle of rationality.
In Romanticism, the artists have their freedom to their imagination, and their emotions are the standard of beauty. Examples are The Nightmare by Henry Fuseli and Watson and the Shark by John Singleton Copley.
Great stuff. Well, let's start to get deeper. Let's challenge your knowledge on how well do you know Romanticism. For the second question, when does Romanticism originate or start?
This movement became popular towards the end of neoclassical movement. Romanticism period was raised due to the fact that there is already a need to say or show admiration for nature. The nature in Romanticism era is also used so they can get away with dehumanization, which was the effect of Age of Enlightenment.
We can say that Romanticism is more creative since it uses our nature as its subject, does not use lines, and use rich colors. We can say that it is not the same as Neoclassicism since Neoclassicism uses humans, history, and architecture of romance as their subject, and they use lines, symmetry, vivid colors that contrast to light and dark, and lastly control the emotion of artwork.
Even though both movements have opposing perspective and approach, Romanticism period still came from the Neoclassicism period. For this reason, we can say that the legacy of Romanticism has impacted modern art.
Well, what about the fall or demise of Romanticism? When does it happen and why?
Just like the neoclassical movement, the Romanticism era also came to an end. The fall of Romanticism became the rise of realism. The demise of Romanticism on 1840 was linked to several factors, including social, cultural, spiritual, and political changes. Nationalism and socialism have expanded in power, which has then led to a different kind of sensibility, the rise of intellectual life.
The demise of Romanticism, which gave rise to realism, represented the middle and lower classes in the late 1800s, as it presented ordinary daily occurrences. Realism rebelled against the Romantic movement's exotic subject matters and dramatic elements. Realist painters often had workers or laborers and ordinary people in day-to-day surroundings engaging in actual occupations as subject matters for their artworks, as they favored images of real life.
William Harmon and Hugh Holman compared Romanticists and Realists, stating, where Romanticists transcend the immediate to find the ideal, Realists center their attention to a remarkable degree on the immediate, the here and now, the specific action, and the verifiable consequence.
But do you think that Romanticism end there? Is that the only way to view and see the essence of this movement?
The collapse of neoclassicism was precipitated by the Romantics revolution against the reigning methods of politics, religion, and society. The Romantic period began in the late 18th century and ended in the late 19th century, during which time there was a widespread invention and discovery.
The 19th century was a period of enlightenment, philosophy, and scientific dominance that saw the transition from the Industrial Revolution to Romanticism, the religious awakening of the Cultural Revolution. It was a period of perception, sensation, and the romantic sublime. It began as a reaction to the Industrial Revolution, which had resulted in the disconnection between man and nature, as well as the mass production of art.
Romanticism can also be viewed as a movement that helps on the revival of old practices since the artists began to get their creatively from nature. Romanticism found its essence for the reason that it was characterized by a yearning for originality, imagination, and passion. It was a period when creativity was valued above reason and sense over logic.
Despite the fact that their goal was to achieve self-expression and individuality, Romantics redefined the concept of art, seeing it as a tool for political, social, and cultural change in the process. For Romantics, self-relevant was paramount. Hence, the movement was more of an emotional condition than an artistic form.
Nice answers! Now, for the third to the last question that will help us to decide whether to accept you or not. Can you give and explain at least an artwork that prompted the Romanticism movement?
Liberty Leading the People by Eugène Delacroix from 1830 can be found at the Louvre Museum at Paris, France. Liberty Leading the People is a hugely influential work of art. It was the inspiration for the Statue of Liberty and Victor Hugo's famous masterpiece, Les Miserables, among other things. The picture has also served as a Republican and anti-monarchist symbol since its inception. Liberty Leading the People, the masterpiece of the leading French Romantic painter, is the most recognized artwork of the Romanticism movement.
The Wrath of the Medusa by Theodore Géricault, last 1819, that is also can be found at the Louvre Museum at Paris, France. The Wrath of the Medusa influenced French art greatly, is regarded as an iconic work of French Romanticism, and has immortalized the incident it represents. The Wrath of the Medusa by Géricault is a true manifesto of Romanticism. It shows a personal and political incident that piques Géricault's interest, which is the 1816 sinking of the French Royal Navy ship Medusa off to the coast of Senegal with over 150 soldiers on board.
The 3rd of May by Francisco Goya on 1814 that is now residing at Museo Nacional del Prado on Madrid. Goya's most renowned painting, The 3rd of May 1808, portrays the French retribution the next day, during which hundreds of Spaniards were picked up and shot. Since it deviates from standard portrayals of battle, the picture has no precedence. The 3rd of May has inspired several well-known paintings by subsequent artists, the most famous of which is Pablo Picasso's masterpiece, Guernica.
Emotion is most important component in Romanticism, and it is explored in depth here. Furthermore, these individuals are being killed on a road in submission rather than dying a violent death in war. As seen in Goya's painting, Romantic painters frequently praised heroes and heroic activities in the world. Many of the major themes of Romanticism are found in The 3rd of May 1808.
Wow! You did really prepare and do your homework for today. I am so near to be impressed. We cannot deny that the Romanticism era won't be this successful and well known without the help of each other's hands. For the second to the last question, who do you think are the key personalities in the Romanticism era?
Philipp Otto Ranch, who is a German romantic painter, draftsman, and art theorist who is known for his expressive portraits and symbolic landscapes, and for his groundbreaking color theory, expounded in Farbenkugel. One of his most famous work is the Hülsenbeck Children, where his career started and began to grow.
One of the proponents of Romanticism that comes to my mind is he who made the Sea of Ice, which is Caspar David Friedrich, who is one of the leading figures of the German Romantic movement. His vast, mysterious, atmospheric landscapes and seascapes proclaim human helplessness against the forces of nature, and did much to establish the idea of the sublime as a central concern of Romanticism.
One of the artists that gave life to Romanticism is Francisco José de Goya y Lucientes, a Spanish artist whose paintings, drawings, and engravings reflected contemporary historical upheavals and influenced important 19th and 20th century painters. The series of etchings, The Disasters of War, records the horrors of the Napoleonic invasion.
Well done! And now for the final and last question. I want you to describe Romanticism by using only a single word.
Romanticism is superficiality.
Romanticism is dexterity.
Romanticism is cunning.
Romanticism is sentimentalism.
Romanticism is melodrama.
Romanticism is revolutionary.
Let me share something before I reveal the result of your interview. In Romanticism, the main determinant is the mood, the atmosphere. To say the word Romanticism is to say modern art, and that is intimacy, spirituality, color, and aspiration towards the infinite, expressed by every means available to the arts. Romanticism is not just about being in a fixed state of endless beauty, because you can't live life. You begin saving the world by saving one man at a time. All else is grandiose romanticism or politics. Imagination, emotion, freedom and individualism are the focal points of Romanticism. As the movement emphasized the emotional matter in an imaginative form. At the end, we can say that the heart of all Romanticism is suffering.